And speaking of McAvoy, let's talk about the injury here. He comes from a Joel Armia cheap shot in that first game. Maybe I said on the show yesterday, maybe reignite that Bruins Canadiens rivalry just a little bit. Tough time to do it with the directions the teams are going. But certainly there's beef, if not beef between the Bruins and the Habs, there's certainly beef between the Bruins and Team USA. In that statement coming out yesterday when they announced that he was not going to play, it was pretty particular from the Bruins. Like, he was reviewed by their medical staff, cleared to play. Right. Then our guys saw him and realized he had a major injury and an infection. So, it might sound very simple, but do the Bruins have like a legitimate beef with how Team USA handled this? Or do you think this was like a Charlie McAvoy call of like, hey, it's a little banged up, but I want to play?
I think it's a beef with Team USA, and I think it's justified because I don't think it's the injury that matters. I think it's the injection or whatever happened with the shot or the recovery or the cleanliness of it, or something happened in the administration of the medicine that caused an infection. And they've had history. This is the Minnesota Wild team medical staff. And Bruins had a history with them because Pat Maroon, when he came over, they didn't love the medicals with him. So there's a history with this particular medical staff. So the Bruins, now look, here's the other thing I said, like, Don Sweeney's there. He's the GM of Canada. Like, you have to know what's going on here, and to kind of throw your hands up and say, I can't believe, like, wouldn't you, if you're a star defenseman who you're paying, about the ass for the next 67 years, whatever the hell it is, like, wouldn't you like check in and be like, hey, especially if you didn't believe 100% in that medical staff, wouldn't you check in and be like, hey, what's going on there? Like, what are we going to do as far as recovery, and how are we going to treat this and that kind of thing? And maybe they did, but I just think that there's a history there, and the Bruins are upset. But this is what happens when you have this type of tournament mid-season, and your star players, which they're all pretty much star players. There's no borderline AHLers out there. So
Eric Hall is playing for Finland, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Shea Taylor
for Finland. Yeah.
Shea Taylor is out for God knows when with a broken wrist. That kills Vegas. Like, so yeah. I mean, this is going to happen. Auston Matthews is banged up with a new injury. So, this is what's going to happen with 25 games left in the season, and players trying to get and teams trying to get the playoff push. So it's an odd time. So, yeah, I think that the Bruins are justified. I don't think it's look. Players want to play, and if they think they can play and they get medical clearance, they're going to play. Especially in this, like, they're not playing San Jose on a Thursday night.
Yeah,
like, so he's going to play. So I think it was the whole treatment of it, and then the infection that was the issue. I don't think it's the injury per se, because injuries happen. I mean, he can get hit by a car in the parking lot. Like, injuries,
right? Yeah, so, and it does feel weird. It does feel weird that the Bruins. I mean, I guess we don't know what kind of say they had in this, but at least can we get Cam in the room there?
Something.
I mean, and even Sweeney. I know Sweeney's running the other team that they knew they were going to play in the finals anyway, realistically. But this is a tournament put on by the NHL. This is not an IHF thing, so it's like. I mean, it's kind of all within the purview of the NHL teams anyway. I do want to ask about, because one of the things that hasn't really been discussed much in this Bruins season is they are going to be looking for a head coach here. And I know you guys have brought up some names in the past, and I'm wondering, this tournament is going to elevate some players and the way they're looked at. Could it be the same way for the coaches? We look at Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh. That team's looking to blow it up, right? And so Mike Sullivan's probably looking for, could be thinking about moving on and going somewhere else too. Obviously, former Bruins coach, mass guy. I even worry about, I saw David Quinn up on the clipboard drawing it up. I know he was in the talks when it was Montgomery, right? It was Quinn talks. And you're going to have Charlie McAvoy saying, like, yeah, really love Quinny, played for him at BU. But anyway, do you think that there are, some guys coaching in this tournament right now that could be targets for the Bruins, even though a lot of them are tied in with other NHL teams.
I think Mike Sullivan is a natural fit. Like the Bruins do a lot in-house. Like they do a lot. They don't go outside the organization much. Like Mike Sullivan is, like you said, familiar. He's Charlie McAvoy's father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if it comes down between David Quinn and Mike Sullivan,
I think he knows who to pick.
McAvoy wants Quinn. That's weird.
It's tough endorsement.
I don't want Quinn. I don't want Quinn anywhere near my hockey club. I didn't want him last year. I don't want him now. It just doesn't get it done in the NHL. In hindsight, the Bruins probably should have pushed harder for Spencer Carberry. He was doing a great job with Washington. Yeah. That might have been the guy in the end, but none of us knew that then. So I'm not going to act like I knew that. So I think, but Mike Sullivan is definitely a natural fit if Pittsburgh moves on from him. I think he would be interested in the Bruins job, and I think it would be a good fit. Like he didn't. At the end of the day, he lost his job here and, that kind of thing. But I think it would be obviously a natural fit, local ties. Bruins love that. They know the guy. So I think that could be on the radar. I don't know what direction they're going to go in. I just hope it's a guy with NHL experience. I hope it's a guy with a good amount of it, with respect in the locker room. They'll allow him to coach the hockey club, pick the lineup,
that would be nice.
Do all that stuff. That's what I hope for. I don't want, some college guy. I don't want Ryan Mujanel. I don't want some assistant coach they've had. I don't want any of that. I want a guy who, and Mike Sullivan would be, I don't know if he'd be my top choice, but he'd be an adequate choice for me.
I think I would. I like Mike Sullivan. I do. I think at this point, kind of what you were just talking about there, I think I'd rather take a John Tortorella than a David Carl, just because of just because we've kind of been there and done that. And as we're talking about this, I'm like, boy, could Carl be a good target for Pittsburgh? They're going to blow it up. They're going to have a ton of young guys, right? Like this is obviously a guy who has great experience with the young players, the World Juniors and all that, and Denver. So I think that could be an avenue for Pittsburgh so that Mike Sullivan can come to the Bruins. Sure. And if they want to keep it all Bruins, Massachusetts guys, you can just hire Billy Guerin as the GM as well. That might be an upgrade. So he's had a good eye for talent in Minnesota. And
another former Bruin who had one great year with the Bruins.
Yes, lest we forget. Yeah. Anyway, we've got the Four Nations tonight. Bruins head back out onto the ice Saturday. I think they play Saturday and Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
Saturday night, Saturday and Sunday they play Anaheim.
Yeah.
They've got 5 or 6 kind of non-playoff-ish teams. Nashville's in there. So they have to win them all. They got Toronto, I think, the next day. So it's Anaheim, Toronto at home, then the Islanders at home. So they need 6 points right there. Need 6 points.
I was thinking
thought of doing it.
I was thinking the silver lining of the McAvoy injury would be that it would force the Bruins to sell, but you hit it almost bad timing. They're going to win some games here.
If they win those 3 and they're in if they have a wild card, they're not selling. They would never do that. Now, if they lose all 3, then yeah. So I really believe they're looking to see how they do coming out of the gate. And if they win, it'll be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If they lose, there's a shot. But if they win the first 3 at home, then they're going to be in a playoff position. They're not going to blow it up in the playoffs. So it's just, I can't believe.
Get used to it, Bruins fans.
I can't believe that the Bruins organization is looking at these 7 games and don't know their team enough to understand that. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
And mortgaging their future on that, yeah.
They're going to be in a bind.
I watched this Team USA, and I know this is no hot take, but there's just so many guys I look at down the roster, and I just say, I would give anything for these guys to play for the Bruins. I would do any trade. The 2 that come up in terms of just guys who kind of might have been available in the past, might be available in the future. I think of Brady Tkachuk and Jack Eichel. Just blank check, give them whatever they want, man.
I mean,
God, is he a good player right now? Eichel.
Kachuk, honestly, with Kachuk, I think I would want Brady over Matthew, to be honest with you.
I take it, yeah.
Slightly. But I would love Eichel just because he's a center. BU, Chelmsford, the whole thing. Like, I think Eichel would be a really great player here. I think that's exactly what they need. And that lets everything else kind of fall into place. And you put him with Pasternak, and you have a legitimate top line, the legitimate team. Like, that's the whole thing, everything. Like, yeah, give him 14, 15 million a year, whatever it is. Let it fly. Mikko Rantanen's still unsigned.
That's true, man. That's out there. One of the other players I was thinking of for USA was Gensel too, which we've talked about a bunch. It's that kind of same thing. Don't just get the money ball this shit. Get the production.
Don't get the really great player. Just get the guy who can score goals. Figure out the rest. I don't know what they're going to do though. I still think they'll trade Fred Frederick, and I really believe that if they don't come out of the gate strong, that they'll trade Marchand. I'm on that Marchand getting traded bandwagon. I am.
I love Marchand to death, but I think that would be a good thing for the organization.
It would.
If they do it right. I mean, there's obviously a way they can fuck it up, but
sure.
I think it's tough to do. There are going to be contenders that really want that guy.
Sure.
So, anyway, Matt Barry, Bruins Benders podcast. You guys love the post game for all the games coming up. It's starting Saturday night. You're back to work.
Yeah, we're back to work tonight. Actually, tonight we're doing post game for USA Canada. What the hell?
Let's go.
Let's talk about USA Canada tonight. Yeah, right after the game on YouTube. Yeah,
I'll be in. I'll have a couple of Bender sips during the game.
Yeah,
so who knows how coherent these messages will be? But
let's do it.
Can't wait. Matt Barry of the Bruins Benders podcast. You heard him. He's got USA Canada post game tonight. Joins us every Thursday. Matt, always appreciate the time.
Oh, you bet, buddy. To see you soon.